I told you, didn't I? I told you, didn't I? And there was given to me a measuring rod like a staff, and someone said, "Get up and measure the temple of God and the altar, and those who worship, and leave out the court which is outside the temple, and do not measure it, for it has been given over to the nations, and they will tread underfoot the holy city for 42 months. What time do you think it is? Since that time, since that sign, I tried telling you. I tried to tell you all. He said, and I will grant my authority to my 2 witnesses. They will prophesy for 1260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands that stands before the God, the Lord of the earth. If anyone wants to harm them, you hear that? If anyone wants to harm them, there's a lot of enemies out there. Let's just put it that way. Fire flows out of their mouth and devours their enemies. So if anyone wants to harm them, he must be killed in this way. These have the power to shut up the sky so that rain will not fall during the days of their prophesying. And they have power over the waters to turn them into blood, and to strike the earth with every plague as often as they desire. I'm going to tell you guys one more time. You better start loving one another. You better turn away from wickedness, and you better be about peace and love. When they have finished their testimony, the beast that comes up out of the abyss will make war with them, and overcome them and kill them, and their dead bodies will lie in the street of the great city, which is mystically called Sodom and Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. I told you, didn't I? Those from the peoples and tribes and tongues and nations will look at their dead bodies for 3.5 days. You do the math. And will not permit their dead bodies to be laid in the tomb. You do the math. And those who dwell on the earth will rejoice over them and celebrate, and they will send gifts to one another, because these 2 prophets tormented those who dwell on the earth. But after that 3.5 days, the breath of life from God came into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon those who were watching them. Are you watching? And they heard a loud voice from heaven saying to them, "Come up here." And they went up to heaven in the cloud. You hear that? And their enemies watched them. I know I got a lot of enemies. You watching me? And their enemies watched them. And in that hour there was a great earthquake, and 1/10 of the city fell. 7,000 people were killed in the earthquake, and the rest were terrified and gave glory to the God of heaven. You better start giving him glory, because the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe is coming quickly.